What's up, guys? It's Bionicle Fan 444 here, and today we have a very exciting video. What's happening today is only going to happen 8 more times in the entirety of this channel, and that's because we are starting a brand new year of Bionicle. That year is 2009. Take me back, baby. I really like 2009. I'm not going to get into it too much right now. Let's just jump into the set. But, spoiler alert, it's a good year overall. I think that starting with 2010 as our first year in this retrospective series was kind of a mind. It was just so not representative of what Bionicle was really like. It was such a weird little out of context year. Although it was a soft reboot for the series, it was a very good classic year of Bionicle, at least set-wise. You got your little guys, your medium-sized canister guys, some large sets and battle vehicles. There's a lot of sick stuff going on here. To commemorate the start of a new year, I figured maybe we should have a proper channel intro that plays, at the beginning of every video to kind of give you something to look forward to, like your favorite sitcom or TV show. Anyways, let me know what you think about the intro and if you're excited to see it in all the videos going forward. Today's review is Malum. We're starting with a Glatorian. These were the first 6 medium-sized sets of 2009, and I think they're a pretty good start to this year, so let's start with the red one, because that's always a classic. Actually, before we start, I feel so inclined to just give you a little recap of the story, because it will help us appreciate 2009, I think, as we go forward. So, as we all know, 2001 to 2008 all took place in the same universe. There was different areas, like different islands and underwater stuff and in the skies, but it was all the same area. At the end of 2008, I think, there was the GSR, the Great Spirit Robot reveal, which was what Bionicle was leading up to in its entirety. This was the reveal. And it was, of course, the fact that said universe from these 8 years of story was in fact a robot. And it stood up. So that's super cool. And then at the end of the year, I think it was kind of revealed that, Makuta, the main bad guy, slipped into this giant robot's consciousness and booted Matanui, who is supposed to be the Great Spirit Robot, of course, away. The mask of life that kind of symbolizes Matanui, and it got booted into space. And Makuta took over the Great Spirit Robot. So now every character we learned about and loved is now kind of living in evil and darkness. And it's like an awful cliffhanger. You're like, holy shit, what the hell? And Matanui's gone from his own universe. That brings us to 2009, where Matanui, the Mask of Life, with Matanui's energy in it or whatever, lands on a new planet outside the Bionicle universe thus far, called Spherus Magna. Guys, I almost forgot that in Matanui's Guide to Barra Magna, it's Barra Magna, not Spherus Magna. I think Barra Magna is a section of the greater planet Spherus Magna, and it broke off in an event called the Shattering, and that's technically the part of the planet that Matanui lands on now. And as you can see, it's very deserty and such, and I think later in the lore, Matanui restores Barra Magna to the former greater Spherus Magna. But anyways, just wanted to correct myself there and hold myself liable, And it's a really deserty world. There's all new types of inhabitants. He kind of gains a body, I think. I forget how it works, but he becomes a normal sized dude again, just like everyone else there. And he helps them out with all their woes and they help Motunui out. You know, that kind of tale is a tale as old as time, in my opinion, but it worked well for the series. I think it was really, really fun to see Motunui finally become a character, not just like this higher being that's representative of things. But the flip side to that was that, like I said, that cliffhanger of everybody else seemingly living in darkness now, you're like, bro, we have to get back there. I also don't really give a fuck about what's happening on Spherus Magna, even though Motunui's there, because, like, dude, what about everything else? It's hard to kind of, you know, just jump to all these new characters now and see Motunui help them in the desert or whatever. Like, anyways, spoiler alert, the end of 2009 is really great, and I think they tie stuff back together pretty well, considering it's only 1 year compared to the story that was cultivated throughout 2001 to 2008. But we'll fucking nerd out in another video. This is only our first 2009 video. We got to get into this set. Alright guys, here he is. I do just have to say that this is so beautiful to be reviewing normal-sized Bionicles with opposable, not opposable, but bendable limbs, you know, slight more build complexity, axles and pins, you know, fireable weapons. Oh, it's just great to be done with those absolute dog shit stars. You may have thought I've been critical of Bionicle so far, handing out all those 6s. No, they are just garbage. Anyways, let's just go as we normally have been, starting bottoms up. So already, I think Malum's feet are an interesting connection, even for standard size sets. Most foot connections, as you're probably aware, the little ball socket joint with a pin in it is vertical, and the foot accommodates that vertical attachment. But with these feet pieces, there's only 3 holes facing that direction. So if you're going to connect the foot with this ankle piece, you do have to bend it in that fashion. So, I mean, that itself is kind of interesting, but what I really like is that this slight concave part right above my thumb perfectly fits. Dude, I'm like spitting into the mic. This is the nerdiest fucking thing ever. Perfectly fits that, like, ball joint of the following leg. See how it, like, fits in there so snug? Dude, we're 1 Bionicle in past 2010, and I'm, like, gushing. It's good shit. Anyways, the limbs themselves are all those kind of, like, short pieces that we're going to start to see many of to give this guy kind of sturdy and squat appearance. Have some nice Toa and Nika limb pieces, I think they were. All dark red on the bottom half. Going into the chest, it starts to get a little bit more fiery. You have these really cool, kind of, almost looks like those vinyls that are double colors with all the swirls going on. You get that for the chest piece, which I believe was used in underwater pieces originally, underwater sets, I mean. And the back of the chest is also a bright yellow, which is kind of funny out of context, but, you know, from the front, it kind of matches that the rest of him is all dark red, but from his core, you know, that's where the fire starts, I'd like to think, and it's kind of extra hot in that area. So I think that's a good touch of how the yellow's in the center, and it spreads out. Anyways, you also notice that on the back, there are these life counter things that swivel. It's a cog piece with numbers printed on it. This was exclusive to 2009. As a little system that goes with the Thornax launcher, which is the weapon of this year as well. So if you got hit with the ammo, you would take a life counter notch down. Anyways, I get that they're a play feature, but overall, I don't actually hate them or think they ruin the sets. They're just not like an upgrade either if you care about build quality. But as far as play features go, I don't think it wrecks it either. The arms are pretty cool and unique as well, even as far as general medium-sized sets go. You have the foot pieces again, or sorry, not again, they're actually slightly different than the actual foot pieces. But you have a similar foot piece as shoulder armor, which is, you know, very bulky and, again, fitting of this character type. although it is connected in a weird way. It's connected in the middle to the top piece, but then you have a second piece in the middle of the arm that, as you can see, only halfway goes through the hole, and it's a axle going into a whole piece anyways, so it doesn't actually fit. But all that's really for is so that, like, it doesn't spin on the one piece that it's connected to, because on the circle pin there, it would just spin infinitely. So they kind of added another piece to at least halfway go into the other hole to keep it from spinning. So interesting little choice there. And it brings us to the hands, which are sick as shit. These are like custom one of one ever used, I think, flame claw pieces with like the silver spider legs from 2005 pinning them in. His hands are definitely one of the highlights of the set, and it brings back that yellow color that was in the chest and head area as well. So big fan of the hands. Lastly, we can go over to the Thornax launcher I mentioned. Most of the sets in 2009 had this weapon as a hand piece, but Malum had it as like a shoulder-mounted weapon to free up his two grabby claws. So that's pretty cool. The way Thornax launchers worked in general was that these are two separate pieces on a normal socket hand joint, and then you get the ammo, which is a very cool squishy piece with a hard plastic band around it. Goes in band matching the launcher pieces, and then you can squeeze the two individual pieces, right, and it would shoot out. The last thing I'll mention about Malum is the headpiece. I think it's kind of an underrated headpiece, and I'll explain why. If we remove it, he has orange eyes, which are cool. I think they could have done orange or green. I think green would have stood out just as well, but I don't mind keeping the full, fiery, warm vibe going throughout the entire character. But anyways, what I really like about this headpiece is how it personifies him so much. Let me get it to focus. There you go. It's such an angry, villainous looking headpiece. Like, he just looks so mad, and that's fitting of his character, because in the lore or whatever, I think this guy's kind of like, not downright evil, but I think he's kind of like a traitor or something. Maybe he becomes an anti-hero. It's kind of those vibes. But anyways, he's definitely an angry dude. There we go. So besides the fact that it's another dual color piece like the chest and claws were, the fact that it fits so well and makes him look so, you know, just mad, I think is a special note of this mask. Not every mask in Bionicle actually conveys emotion. Some just look cool, especially when the head is just so, you know, stoic and kind of robotic, if we can get it to focus, right? It's like a classic, neutral, simple eyes, thin mouth line, very default light head there. So the fact that when the mask goes on it, it kind of creates this whole, you know, angled eyes, giant angry scowl, with that default light head. I don't know, it's a pretty brilliant mask design in my opinion. It's very simple, it's on the small side, but I really like it, and it adds that final level of personality to his build. Alright, y'all, that concludes the review for what I would say is our first official Bionicle. The stars, dude. I would love to hear your thoughts on Malum, and in general, the 2009 Bionicles. Are you excited? Are you not? Guys, I'm so silly. In all the chaos of getting started on a new year of Bionicle, I forgot to give Malum a score. He gets a very solid 7.5 from me. Also, let me know who you'd like me to review next. I don't know if I'm going to go through all of the Glatorian, if I'll switch to the little small figures, do some Glatorian legends. Not exactly sure the order of which I'll tackle all the 2009 sets, so if there's anyone you'd like to see, I can likely just go on recommendations, but I'll keep you posted. Enjoy your day, thanks for watching, and it's going to be a lovely, lovely ride. Until next time.
I sent them a location, I paid for the vacation, I can't ever show face shit, I sent them a location,